All right, what's going on, Dolphins fans? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. I haven't made a video much. I think I made one this week, and it's mostly Donovan. The last 2 weeks, actually, really. I think I only made one or two videos since we got knocked out of the playoffs. And, as you see in the title, I have some things to say about the Miami Dolphins. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who, maybe some of you guys are watching me for the first time or watching this, like, this is a Dolphins channel and a Dolphins fan talk about why he hates the Dolphins, or some of you guys have watched our previews, all of our content for the last couple of years, and you're saying to yourself, this guy actually hates the Dolphins. Let me explain. I don't truly hate the Dolphins, but right now, I kind of do, and I think it's okay. And I think a lot of the fan base can kind of resonate these thoughts that I'm about to share with you guys. So I've been a Miami Dolphins fan my entire life. I'm 23, about to turn 24 years old. First started watching football. The earliest real memory I have of watching football, I believe, is the Cardinals, Steelers, no, the Bears Colts Super Bowl. I don't remember watching it, but I remember rooting for the Bears and not really being too upset that they lost. But that was my earliest memory of football. And then, as long as I can remember, I've been a Dolphins fan. My mom's a Dolphins fan. My grandfather, her dad's a Dolphins fan. Uncles, friends, Donovan, who I run this channel with, Dolphins fans, live here in South Florida my entire life. Have had season tickets for the Dolphins for about 7 years. So I've seen a lot of Dolphins stuff. I've seen a lot of Dolphins games. I've seen a lot of moments. I've been doing this here for you guys for a little over a year now. So my life has been so revolved around the Miami Dolphins for as long as I can remember. Football has been my favorite sport, in sports is what I love. I love to talk about sports. I'm trying to get into the sports industry as a career, trying to yap professionally, but in a more professional setup. Hopefully, might be something that actually happens one day, and moving in the right direction towards that. But the Miami Dolphins, again, they've been my main focus. They've been where most of my attention has been put to, and during that time, we all know it's been a lot of losing. It's been a lot of let's down. It's been a lot of moments that aren't really worth remembering fondly, and that has led to a lot of Dolphins kind of morphing into this insecure fan base where we latch on to any sort of positivity and claw onto it like our life depends on it, and become very delusional in many ways. And it kind of has fractured the fan base to the most polarizing member of the Dolphins, Tua. So polarizing that they have to latch onto Tua, or they just believe this is more of what we've seen in the past 20 years and just take all that negativity and put it on Tua. And I think that's really divided us as a fan base and has made us a very emotional fan base one way or another, no matter which side you are on. And all that emotion going on oftentimes takes away from what's really on the football field. And it's so easy to get caught up in that. I like to believe I'm someone who is very down the middle when it comes to Tua. He's not a top 10 guy. He's probably not a top 15 guy, for really being honest. But when he plays well, I'm happy for him. When he doesn't play well, I call it out. I just call it how it is with Tua. However he's playing in the moment is who he is, and we just kind of have to live with that until things change. But with all this emotion going on, all this either really high or really low lows that we feel as Dolphins fans, again, because we latch on emotionally to every single thing that happens, and it's either going to save the franchise or it's going to set us back for 5 years and just leave us in mediocrity. We're so afraid of staying in mediocrity because we've had to deal with it so much. And now that we finally see this bright spot, bright team, have hopes as high as can be, just for them to be shot down at the end of the year. So why does that lead towards hate? Why does that justify hating the Miami Dolphins? When the season's done with and you're just left with your emotions, you have no other outlet other than to sit and complain, sit and be sad. You don't get to watch the Dolphins try to change your mind. You don't get to any new information about the Dolphins. You don't get to see them maybe defeat a good team. You don't get to see them win a playoff game. You're stuck with the moments. You're stuck with everything you've lived with this year and everything the team has gone through this year. And when everything is said and done, ultimately it resulted excuse me, I'm getting over a little cold here. Ultimately, it results in the Miami Dolphins not winning a playoff game. And that sucks. Having that high that all of us felt, 70-point win, or 70 points in a win against the Denver Broncos, beating the Dallas Cowboys, clinching that playoff spot. I was there. It felt euphoric to be in the stadium that day. Ultimately led to us losing 3 games in a row and our season being over in Kansas City, and that game was over before it even started. And now it's left us just sitting here. And I still love the Miami Dolphins. Don't get me wrong. I still will root for them passionately for years on end. We'll still make a bunch of content here with the Miami Dolphins. But if I got to be honest, I'm sick and tired of the Miami Dolphins. I'm sick and tired of so many things when it comes to Miami Dolphins. First and foremost, I'm sick and tired of losing, and that's actually probably the easiest thing to get over, is just because I feel confident that at the very least we're not going to be mediocre going forward. At the very least, we are going to be in the playoff race every single year as long as Mike McDaniel's a head coach, and it looks like they have this ship going in the right direction. As long as that maintains, I feel good that that's where we're going to be. Are we going to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years? Lord knows. I mean, 3 years ago, did you think the Lions were going to be on the doorstep of the Super Bowl? That's what happens with football. NFL stands for not for long. Anybody can be great, and then anybody can suck. Patriots 5 years ago on top of the world, now top 3 pick. That's just the way of the NFL. We could be amazing 3 years from now. We can win back-to-back Super Bowls the next 2 years, or we can find ourselves with the number 1 overall pick in 2 years. You have no idea where it's going to go. So that's the part I'm actually least concerned about, is how I don't really know where this team's going to go. I don't know whether we're going to win. I don't know whether we're going to make the playoffs next year. I don't know whether we're going to be great or whether this team's going to fall apart. I don't know if we're going to give Tua $50 million and it's going to be a great thing, a bad thing, or I don't know if we're going to let him walk at the end of next year. There's so much uncertainty with this team on the field, but the on the field is almost becoming secondary. The emotions that get involved with this Miami Dolphins team and this fan base, like, look, I love you guys over here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. We have a great following, and I love the interactions that we've had with a lot of you guys, like all of our regulars that you guys have been watching our videos for a long time. Like, we appreciate y'all, we love y'all, like, and I feel like we have some of the more level-headed fans amongst Dolphins Twitter, based Dolphins social media. Like, there's so many. What's the right word? So many Miami Dolphins fans that are, let's just put it kindly, delusional, one way or another, positively or in a negative manner, are just entirely delusional about what this Miami Dolphins team is/was. And I like to think here on Miami Dolphins Syndicate that the following that we've gotten, that we see a lot of level-headed comments, especially like when I see under my videos, I'm responding to you guys. Like, I am actually pretty refreshed usually when I go to the comments and see what you guys have to say. Sometimes, you every now and then you get the one guy that's going to be overly negative or overly positive or overly critical of what I have to say. But that's just part of the business. I'm okay with that. But I actually appreciate how level-headed a lot of you guys are that watch our videos. But the up and down nature of having to witness Dolphins fans cling to any particular thing of this team, for better or for worse, and argue about it as if it's like their child or their grandmother. Tua is not related to you. Tua does not know you. Tua does not love you. Tua appreciates you. Not individually appreciates you, but the idea of you, the idea of a Dolphins fan, the idea of somebody who supports him. Excuse me. That idea, even though he doesn't know you, he doesn't know you face. I know he appreciates that, but he doesn't love you. And then on the other side, if you have nothing but hate to say, like, yeah, I'm sure it bothers him, but at the same time, like, he's not your family member. This doesn't matter. None of this matters. What I'm doing right now doesn't matter. This is just fun. This is entertainment. This is something that I like to do. I like to sit here, grab this microphone, hold it instead of having it on my desk. I'm sure it looks a little weird. Nobody else really does that. I don't care. I like to do it. I like the feeling of it in my hand. Pause. It gets so exhausting, though, living amongst Dolphins fans. And before the season started, I don't know if it was just gut or what happened, but I just got overwhelmed with this sense of I hate Dolphins fans. And maybe that's the better title of this video, is I hate Miami Dolphins fans. But the Dolphins fan base, also part of it being that sometimes like only 50% of the stadium is Dolphins fans. The rest just buy the tickets to sell them off to other opposing teams' fans. I think the Dolphins fans is what's really started to ruin it for me, because we become so easy to make fun of, because we are one of the most insecure fan bases in all the NFL. I mean, you look at the Cleveland Browns and how they've been a laughing stock for so many years, and that's, we don't like to admit it, but in my lifetime, how are we any better than the Cleveland Browns? In many ways, I'd say we're worse than the Cleveland Browns. They've won a playoff game. They've won their division. We've done that, but it's been how many years? They won their division more recently than we have. The last time they played against the Chiefs in Arrowhead in the playoffs, they were very close to beating them, moving on to the AFC Championship game. How are we better than the Cleveland Browns? Yes, we've won more regular season games, but who gets remembered for regular season games? It's all about what you do in the postseason. If it was based on regular season wins, then Don Shula's the GOAT for now. But that's not the case. Bill Belichick, 6 rings. Yeah, Tom Brady. He had Tom Brady. Okay, so what? You need greatness around you to be great. Everybody needs help. You need help. Whether you're a guy or a girl, you need, your partner hopefully elevates you as a person. Like, you don't need them literally to survive, but hopefully you are a better version of yourself because of your partner. I know I am. I know I'm much better because of my wonderful girlfriend who, she uplifts me and pushes me to be a better person. I know that without her, I'd be worse. The same goes for greatness. So got off a little tangent there. But we aren't any better than the Cleveland Browns. We aren't any better than Jacksonville Jaguars. We desperately want to push ourselves up and act like we're one of the big boys. We're not. We're not one of the big boys. We're borderline a poverty franchise who is trending in the right direction, which is great. We're trending in the right direction. I will never complain about progress. Even if it's slow progress, I will never complain about progress. We're trending in the right direction. But we haven't done anything. We haven't won our division. We've barely even beaten a good team in this good run of Miami Dolphins football. There's a lot to fix. We still are the Miami Dolphins in a negative sense, but we so desperately want to not be. And I got caught up in it. I got caught up in acting like we were genuinely the best team in the league. There wasn't a point last year where we were the best team in the league. But there was a point where we may have had the best record, or we may have had the most impressive win, in just the sense of week 1, we had the best game with the Chargers. Well, look what the Chargers ended up being. Then we destroyed the Broncos by 50 points, scoring 70 points. Well, look what the Broncos ended up being. And then you play the Eagles, play the Chiefs twice, you play the Bills twice. You play the Ravens, get absolutely annihilated. That's what we are. We're a fringe top 10 team who was really hot, can beat the crap out of the bad teams, struggle against the good teams. That's what we are. And that's what we were this season. And we got caught up in the delusion of the rest of the world, the rest of the Dolphins fans. And I found myself there too. So recently, I found myself hating the Dolphins, specifically since the season ended. When we lost to the Titans, that was definitely a pretty big eye-opener in the sense of, oh, this is not a good team, but the way we lost to them, how just physical they were, and they were to push us around, and Tyreek goes down, and you see what Tua truly is. Tua is not a top 15 quarterback. Including draft prospects, I can name 15 better quarterbacks. This is not the time to do it right now. I mean, you look in the conference championship game, every one of them is better than Tua. I'm sorry, Brock Purdy's better than Tua. He can't really give me a logical explanation why, because they do similar things, except Brock Purdy's doing it better. Yeah, he has better weapons around him, but him and Tua are pretty much the same guy, and one's in the conference championship game 2 out of 2 years, has won a playoff game, and Tua has not. It's a results business. But yeah, after that Tennessee game, I found myself pulling back emotionally. And that Cowboys game was a really high. And then the Ravens game, I knew was going to say a lot about this football team and what to expect when we get to the playoffs. Because at that point, again, it was clinched. And once we got destroyed, I'm like, oh, okay. Understood. This is what we are. We're barely a top 10 team in this league. Next year, there's probably going to be teams better than us. Next year, the Bills, the only reason we might win the division next year, and obviously improvements are to be made, but because of the Bills, Von Miller's cap hit, Josh Allen's cap hit, Stephon Diggs' cap hit, there's going to be a very difficult track for them to improve the team from where they're at right now. That's really where we get that hope in the division. Is we saw them this year fall a lot of games in the middle of the season, 1-game swing, but really, I don't feel confident about us winning the Super Bowl next year. Do you? Does really anybody feel confident about the Dolphins winning the Super Bowl next year at this point? But when you say that during the season, when you say that when you have 11 wins, when you say that when at the time you're, allegedly favorites to win their division, what's wrong with you? You're a lunatic. You're the guy who's wrong. And then we see what happens against the Ravens. And then I'm at the Bills game. We're winning going into the fourth quarter. I just had that strong feeling that we're going to lose. And I accepted it early on in the fourth quarter. When we got the ball back on that last drive, there was a little bit of a tingling like, oh, come on, really? Really? We're going to win? But no, we were in the lead in the fourth quarter, and just how that game was going, the Bills were clearly the better team. Josh Allen was clearly the best player on the field. Usually when you have that, you have the more experienced coach. Usually that's a recipe to win, and they ended up winning. And then, again, I had zero confidence going to Kansas City, but you had to act like it. You're not a real Dolphins fan if you're not saying we're going to win. That's kind of the world that Donovan ends up living in sometimes, where he thinks we're going to win every single game. I mean, love Donovan. Donovan, if you're watching this, God, when we were walking out of that Bills game, I wanted to punch him. Because he's like talking like, oh my God, like I'm not worried about Kansas City. Like, we're going to beat Kansas City. And he's just like brushing it over. I'm like, tell me one reason why we're supposed to win against Kansas City. And it was all kind of happenstance, like these half truths that sometimes he likes to bring up when defending the Dolphins. I'm like, dude, you just saw us get destroyed by the Bills not on the scoreboard, but on the field. You got us destroyed all over the place by the Ravens. You have Patrick Mahomes at home, cold weather. I gave up on the season before the fourth quarter started against that Bills game. The Dolphins have just drawn so much energy, and part of that is from talking about them so much, where talking here on a mic really gets me to realize my thoughts and opinions on the Miami Dolphins oftentimes as I'm speaking to you guys. I don't have any notes. I don't have my laptop open. It's closed right here. I'm not even sure if it's charged. My phone's face down right there. A lot of the time I figure out what I'm thinking by being able to talk about it and just speaking out loud the thoughts that come to me, what feelings come to me. And the more I spoke about the Dolphins this year, the more content I created for the Dolphins. I'm like, dude, this is not going to end like we want it to end. We had this whole fairy tale middle of the season where everyone's talking about us, how we're the best offense in NFL history, and about how this is too great to fail. And then we got defeated by just dropping your safeties back, dropping your linebackers back, putting a hand on your small wide receivers, and the timing's thrown off, and then the entire offense falls apart if you just do this at the line of scrimmage to Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, because the timing is completely thrown off, and they're smaller receivers, so they're not going to be able to get through that. That's the way to beat the Miami Dolphins. Drop back a little bit, push your receiver a little bit. That's it. That's all you have to do. And I had to sit here and try to almost lie to myself and think that everything was going to be okay, but it wasn't. It wasn't going to be okay. It was never going to be okay. Maybe this video is like 2 weeks too late. Taking my time out. Somebody who likes to just come out and irrationally speak and just spew out emotions. But now that the season's been over for 2 weeks, and I've had more time to digest what I think about the Dolphins, what I think about this season. The season was fun. It was cool. The highs were great, but the lows sucked. And the lows were miserable, and you thought we were escaping poverty. We haven't. We haven't done anything yet. Making the playoffs is not a trophy. They don't hang any banners for that. You get a nice job, you get a handshake, people get fired, as we see. He didn't get fired, but Vic Fangio left, fired, mutually left, whatever you want to call it. This team's going to be assembled differently next year. Who knows? Christian Wilkins is on the team. What happens with Tua? There's whole endless possibilities of what this team can look like next year. Braxton Berrios is probably gone. A whole bunch of free agents, including him, are probably gone. And you have to live with that. Andrew Van Ginkel, he's probably gone. I just yapped and talked a lot just to say that I'm kind of glad that the Dolphins season's over and has been over. My stress levels have gone down. I feel like I can enjoy a day better because I'm not thinking about what's going on with the Miami Dolphins. It was a fun season. It had its moments. And it's the sport I love. It's the team I love. But it got to a point where it was no longer worth it. It got to a point where within the season, it was no longer worth assigning my emotional attachment to them. And now that I'm talking about it, I think the true emotional detachment came in the fourth quarter of the Cowboys game. I remember when we had the ball, and at the end, after they scored a touchdown, after they scored the Cowboys scored the touchdown. We get the ball back, and it's commercial break. And I remember everyone in my section was standing. I was in the lower bowl for this one, sitting with my mom. Usually I'm in the upper deck. That season ticket's gone, so my season tickets are done also, by the way. But I remember standing up and just kind of panning around. I don't know who I thought it was. I thought it was Russell Wilson or something. Like, Russell Wilson when he came back to Seattle with the Denver Broncos, when he's standing in midfield. Like, I wasn't quite doing that. But I remember just like standing up and looking around and looking at all the fans. I'm like, this isn't who I am. Like, I love this, but this doesn't define me. This doesn't define my identity. And this I know this is getting really meta and something that you would never really expect from a Miami Dolphins fan channel, football fan channel. But I just remember standing and looking around and wondering, like, what is this? Like, what is this really? And at the end of the day, this is entertainment. At the end of the day, this is men and people that don't particularly care about you, the individual. They appreciate that you're there as a collective, but they don't care about me. They don't know me. And I just remember looking there. I'm like, all right, whatever happens at the end of the day, I can live with. And we won, and I was ecstatic. I hugged my mom. I was high-fiving everybody, and I was super excited. But even after that point, like, that really was like a come to Jesus moment. Like, oh, this doesn't matter. Literally speaking, come to Jesus. Like, God is way more important than what's going on here right now. There's so much bigger issues. I felt like what's that clip of Will Smith's kid where he's like, oh, why can't we just talk? Why aren't we talking about important things like the geopolitical climate of Venezuela or something? Like, I kind of felt stupid thinking that to myself, but it was one of those moments where I was like, this doesn't matter. Well, again, this has been a lot of ramblings, but I'm just happy that the Dolphin season's over. My emotional well-being is so much better. Looking at the Dolphins in a negative way right now, where I'm just like, please get that away from me. Now, I will be here still making Dolphins content for you guys because I do love making content, and the Dolphins are a team that I love. So even if I'm not necessarily happy to talk about them, I'm happy to get on here and on a mic and just be happy and talk to you guys. I'm not even sure if this video is probably not even going to do that well, and I'd be surprised. About 20 something minutes into this video right now, I'd be surprised how many people got all the way to the end of this. But I don't particularly care. This is just something that I enjoy to do, and I hope you guys enjoy with it. I really appreciate you guys getting us to 1,000 subscribers. That was really cool and has been cool, and the channel's continuing to grow from then. So thank you all very much. I'll more formally announce this probably if I make a video on Monday or so. But I did just join up with ESPN up in West Palm Beach on an internship, and that's been so cool so far. It's a real dream come true, even on a internship level. So I'm really thankful to all my friends and family who've supported me through that. And again, I'll probably end up talking more about this on another video at the beginning of the video instead of 22 minutes or whatever it is here. But it's done with. Just putting it out there. I'm rooting for the Ravens the rest of the way. Ravens are my second favorite team. Deal with it. All right. There's no rules. I didn't sign a rule book saying that you can't have two favorite teams. I like the Ravens. Dolphins are my favorite team. Ravens are my second favorite team. Heat are my favorite team. Warriors are my second favorite team. I love the Panthers and then the Penguins. What sport am I missing? Marlins, then Yankees. I mean, even soccer abroad. Manchester United, Bayern Munich. You can name a sport. Oh, college sports, forget about it. Like FAU, where I went to, like that's my favorite sport, or favorite team. But I have a team like every conference, which now is actually a bunch of those teams have joined conference, so it's kind of weird. Like I love the Gators, and then I like Oregon, I like Michigan State, I like Georgetown, North Carolina. My grandfather went there and is a big Tar Heels fan, so I've really adapted to that. There's no rules, so I'm gonna be rooting passionately for the Ravens this weekend. I had a Ravens hat on earlier today. I have an Ed Reed jersey that I'm going to be wearing on Sunday. Deal with it. If you made it to this far in the video, let me down below that you got to this point in the video, and tell me who you're rooting for in the playoffs. Tell me if you share the same feelings with me about the Miami Dolphins. Do you still love them? Do you hate them? Why? Let me know down below. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. If you've watched this far into the video and you haven't subscribed, I don't really know what you're doing. This is a strictly fan channel. I'm not important. This is just me yapping on a mic. Donovan also just here yapping on a mic. We're no more important than anybody else. So we appreciate y'all who've been tuning in, watching us, and we will not be going anywhere, especially throughout this offseason, as there's a lot to go on. Brandon Staley, defensive coordinator? I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see. But I'll talk about that at a later date. That's it for me. Hope all y'all have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody.